Hey, moron! Hey, moron! Dude! Look at me! I'm the waterboard, dude!
Well, good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as the Funky Chicken. And as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So, we are here a week into the offseason. The body's not really cold yet because the Eagles are having their Super Bowl party, and congratulations to them. I got a text message from Philly 500, a.k.a. the champ. He said he got his can of Jason Kelsey soup, and I think he ate it. It's like it's a collectible. You don't open it. You keep it like that. He's a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. He's a dingbat. You don't eat the soup, Philly. Are you kidding me? Look, if you looked up here, you'll see I have a limited edition Dallas Cowboy truck that's number 3 of 277. It's in the original box. Now, it has come out the box, but I think if somebody were to buy it, they'd be okay with it because it's got Bob Lilly's autograph on it and Randy White's. Other than that, it's in the original package. It makes it more valuable. Somebody will want to be the one to open that thing up and get that original air. You don't eat the soup, Philly. You're an idiot. Be that as it may, Micah Parsons is pounding the table about change. And the Cowboys have actually taken a step, either by accident or by design. I don't know which one, but sometimes things happen to you, and it's the best thing you had it happen to you. You just don't realize it at the time. Maybe Mike McCarthy saying, I want a 5-year deal, ends up being the best thing because it forced him to do something different. I can think about my own life where I was a building engineer, job that I liked, and I got a strep A infection in my knee. Had 3 operations on my knee in a week to save my leg and my life. In the time of me spending 6 months to recover, I lost my job. I basically went bankrupt, and I ended up getting divorced. And it was the worst thing that happened to me at the time, I thought. But it ended up being the thing that forced me to actually start my business, the Wood Bore, and working for myself. And with the exception of 1 year, since 1995, since the Cowboys won their last Super Bowl, I have worked for myself. And it's been the greatest thing in the world. And had it not been for that forced illness, I might not be sitting here right now. That's the truth. So it may end up being that this is the best thing because we've got some change. We've got what seemingly sounds like the right things that people are looking at and you're seeing as a winning formula is being not just throwing the football all over the field, having a running game, being balanced, having a modern offense, getting coaches that matter. And it seems like the Cowboys are investing in younger coaches that are well respected that can relate to the players. These are all great things. The Cowboys have taken the first step. The second step, and what's the most important one, is having the players to be coached to go on and be great. And we can sit here and pretend that the Cowboys' philosophy of winning from within with our homegrown talent, because we're so good, we can just pick anybody and they're going to be great, does not work in today's NFL. You look at from the Eagles, who in the middle of the season in 2017 brought in guys like Jay Ajayi and Ndamukong Suh and things like that, that put that team together with a lot of free agent help on a good team. They won. You can look at Tampa Bay, and as much as everybody says it was just having, God, why am I can't even remember his name, Tom Brady. It was beyond just Tom Brady because they brought in Ndamukong Suh and guys. They brought in Gronk. They brought in a bunch of players, and you can argue and say they weren't a good team before him, but they were an 8-8 team with the Jameis Winston who threw 30 interceptions. They had a really good defense and a basis right there, and they topped it off with talent and went on to win the Super Bowl the next year. You can look at the Rams doing the same thing, going through, trading for Matthew Stafford, bringing in Odell, just as a mid-season pop-up, getting Von Miller and things, that they traded for Jalen Ramsey, that they ended up understanding we got to build up this thing to make sure we have enough talent to overcome. They became a super team. You can see that the Eagles did that 2 years ago and just fell a little bit short. It wasn't by what they had as drafted players. They went out, they got A.J. Brown and crew. You can look at them this year. They went out and they got Saquon. They didn't say, let's just draft a running back or we'll just go status quo and keep our homegrown guys. They look outside the building for something that will make them better. Not just to maintain or maybe take a step back or to keep our bottom line in order. This is what wins in the NFL. And I was watching last night. I mentioned this on my fireside chat last night. But I have been, when I started doing YouTube, it was actually a carryover from doing Facebook. I'd always do Facebook posts and Jobu videos and stuff. And in 2016, they started to take off, so I started spending more and more time on it. And if you guys remember, any of you guys that have been here for a long time, will remember the B.A.M show when I used to go on the B.A.M show for 7 minutes and talk about the Cowboys. And so I started in 2016 or 2015, no, it was 2016, doing live streams, setting up for doing that little segment, which translated to every Monday night. Ever since then, I've been live streaming. That's what I started. But if you'll remember, I sat there, I made myself a little desk that was there. It was real small, tiny, and I was on the side wall over there. And, I started out doing it that way. Had a little TV behind me. Then I built what was kind of a replica of a Cowboys locker rooms from AT&T. So that was the next step. The next step was I moved it on another wall and I built a second locker. And then the third year I built another one. And so it's been constantly evolving and changing and growing. Later on I built basically another set where I could sit there and live stream watching the game and get the, everybody there at the house watching the game so we get the reactions on. And during COVID, I built a studio outside, and of course we have the studio here. So I'm constantly trying to grow and change. And typically I'm either working in my workshop, I'm cooking, I'm a married man, I got my family that we're working on, trying to help them and do everything I can, or building houses. So I don't always have a whole lot of time. And I don't have a lot of time to necessarily watch a lot of YouTube, which is crazy. It's crazy. But for whatever reason, I watched a Mr. Beast video. And of course, I always heard of Mr. Beast, but I was like, okay, I don't have time to watch videos. I just don't. I'm trying to make more time to be able to do this. And I've started watching some of them, and oh my God, they're life-changing. I can see why he is the biggest YouTuber in the world. But I was watching one last night that really spoke to me, and it wasn't one of his, adventures where they're in a cave for a week or you got to save the Ferrari, from being shot by special optics or a train or something. This was an interview about Mr. Beast behind the scenes of what he does and what his life is like. And so many things that he does reminded me of myself. I know y'all are, insert joke now, laugh right now. But some of the things that I do, because he put it out there that his whole life is doing YouTube. He has literally got his place where his studio is. Hence, my bedroom's right there. Right there. Not that I'm anywhere like Mr. Beast. I couldn't even dream of that. But he said, here's what he said is, he was doing really, really well with it. It's like, wow, this is actually kind of taking off. And he realized that I can't do it all myself if I want to continue to grow. So he hired a person, got that person in there. And then it ended up being that every month he ended up hiring somebody else so that way they could grow. So it ended up being from him being like me, where I'm the camera guy, okay? I'm the camera guy. I am the guy who works all the freaking cameras here, okay? Yeah, that's me. I work all the cameras and everything else here. I have to take care of the sound bar, okay? When I do edit, I have to edit. I have to do the research to talk about what I'm going to talk about and so on. It's a one-man gang. But he realized in order to grow, he couldn't do all of those things. He ended up hiring people. And the more he ended up hiring, the more he was able to use and be the creative, to have the ideas, to grow and say, here's what we're going to do. Now I've got a cameraman, I got a lighting person, I've got somebody who's going to set up the set, who's going to find the locations. All of these things allow him to be the creative genius to maximize what he does. Because one person can't do it all. And I probably, right now, am at my peak. I probably cannot get any bigger than what I am right now until I realize that I can't do it all and that I need to bring somebody else in. And if you might be somebody who would be interested in working with the Jobu Sports Report and you like college prospects, there might be a thing that we can kind of work on together here to build your channel and this one. Just saying. Just saying. Be that as it may. The other thing that he said, which is something I've always believed, and as I just told you what I said there, is you have to change and evolve. He may go through and do a series of videos, and he changes up. Even though they're still working, he comes up with the next thing. Because as he put it, if you play those same things over and over and over again, you run into the ground. I wouldn't be where I am now. You'd be a dinosaur. You'd be left behind. Aha! Which brings us to the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are still, actually they're not really even doing all of it. In the 90s, because they were at rock bottom. Jerry Jones comes in and says, the way this Cowboys organization is doing things, it needs to change. I got to get rid of Tom Landry. His ideas are antiquated. You know, we're still doing the flex defense, okay, and shotgun and everything else, and we're trying to hang on to all these old players. We need to wipe the slate clean. We need fresh ideas. So he brings in Jimmy Johnson, who is a genius. They changed everything. They started over. They were a conveyor belt of bringing in talent and trying to maximize everything they did. They were so creative that Jimmy Johnson literally had you believing that Steve Walsh was better than Troy Aikman and was able to trade him for a first and a second round draft pick. That they took Herschel Walker and ended up literally building half of the roster from the trade. Between what the picks that they brought in, the players that they brought in, that they took those, they wheeled and dealed them to maximize everything that they did. That they brought in more talent, more than anything else. You can talk about how great the coaches were, but they had raw talent because they changed up what they did. The problem has been from the time Jerry Jones fired Jimmy Johnson, he continued to try and do things the same way without the conveyor belt of bringing in talent. And we have literally been doing every year, listening to Stephen Jones saying, we believe in our own guys. You heard Stephen Jones literally being asked at training camp, do you worry about the fans getting upset because of the inactivity of the offseason? His response, well, when we look at season ticket holders and things and renewals, we're at the highest level we've ever been. And so, we feel their pain, but, we're still getting, the publicity and getting the money and everything else. So, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, but you can look at the empathy from the fans getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And that if they go through another offseason the same way, thinking and trying to sell to the fans that all we have to do is re-sign Micah Parsons and Micah Parsons will get us to the Super Bowl, you're going to continue to lose your market share. You have to change what you're doing. What you have been doing is not like Mr. Beast, where he'll do 10 videos in a series and have millions of views and make tons of money on it, that he can literally have hundreds of people working for him. But he recognizes, I can't do that same thing. I have to evolve to keep people's attention. Stephen? And if you go through with this whole thing, it's going to be difficult for us to sign all these players because we don't have the money. I'm sitting here this morning and I see an article. Super Bowl champions, Eagles. And they're sitting there talking about 5 easy things they can do to get $70 million in cap space. See, the Eagles have found something new. They just won the Super Bowl, and they're not sitting back and saying, well, our season ticket renewals are the highest they've ever been. They're trying to figure out how they can get even better. And herein lies Micah Parsons, who is tired of us doing the same thing and expecting a different result. It's not rocket science. You have to get off your ass. And the third thing about Mr. Beast, as he put it, it's hard having a relationship because of the amount of time he spends doing his craft. Because literally all day long is doing his craft. He might be flying to Bali, and when he comes back, he's got to go back and do a reaction video. Or then he's got to go through and he's got to work on the gaming channel. But to be successful, you have to put in the work. And seeing Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones constantly, there doing press conferences and wasting time, valuable time, waiting until the end of the summer to do stuff, you're only doing it half-assed. The time is now. The Steelers calling Jacksonville, hey, what's the possibility that you might trade that guy? You won't? Okay. But they're out there trying to. And when you start hearing that, the Rams, hey, we don't want to take a big hit for Cooper Kupp. We're going to try and trade him. We want to move him before March. They're out there working right now trying to get the best deal that they can to maximize the potential of being able to get somebody to replace him with draft picks and to keep from paying as much money. They're putting in the work right now. You got the Jets out there basically saying, Aaron Rodgers, it's been real, it's been nice, but it ain't been real nice, bro. Get the fuck out. Everybody is already jockeying to get better. And as of right now, only thing we've done to say we've gotten better is coaching. But knowing Jerry Jones, he's going to try and sell you that the DNA, that DNA, it don't fall far from the tree. That just getting Dak Prescott back and the change of coaching is going to get us to the Super Bowl. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. They got to get to work. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, every day it's been a new person. We've had Devontae Adams. 2 days ago, T. Higgins. We've had Myles Garrett. I'm curious on who we got this week. I mean, today. Even though we don't sign anybody on Get Up.
The Chiefs' streak of 9 straight AFC West Division titles ends next year. Is that an overreaction?
Absolutely, it's an overreaction to one game. They played lousy on Sunday. There's no question about it. They just went 17-3. They've won this division 9 years in a row. The Chiefs will throw resources at the problem. We know this. I think they'll find a left tackle. I think they'll be right back where they usually are.
Of course, and not only that, you think about Isaiah Pacheco missed a number of games. Rashee Rice was not out there in the Super Bowl. He missed a ton of games. It is, of course, an overreaction to think this Kansas City Chiefs team, because of a Super Bowl loss, is just going to go away and fly under the radar. No way.
Super Bowl beat down. I don't know that it was.
Yes.
Where's Pacheco from?
Oh, come on, Rutgers, baby. You know where Pacheco is.
All right, next overreaction. The Commanders will win the NFC East next season. Graziano, is that an overreaction?
It's not an overreaction. We first have to remember that no one has repeated as NFC East champion in 20 years, and that is a stat that I stand by. So the Eagles can't win it, unfortunately for them. Too bad. The Cowboys we don't think are there. The Commanders are on the ascent. They got the great young quarterback. They have cap space and money to spend this offseason. Dan Quinn took the Falcons to the Super Bowl early in his tenure there. I think it can happen.
Yeah, last year was the worst that the Commanders will ever be under Jayden Daniels. You talk about salary cap space. They have $80 million to spend, and they have a talent that guys will take a pay cut that's looking for a Super Bowl victory.
Yeah, if you're buying stock in a young team, I don't know why the Commanders wouldn't be where you load up, especially in this division, make it to the NFC Championship a year ago. Okay, final overreaction. The Cowboys, speaking of, need to draft Ashton Jeanty, running back. Boy,
once upon a time, they drafted Zeke Elliott 4th overall. That was because they had the best line in the league, and he was plug and play on a team that expected to contend and did. This could be a similar situation if they're able to build up the lines in free agency. He could be a superstar playmaker for that team.
And they also can build up those lines in the draft. So as much as Jeanty could be a superstar for the Cowboys, I think there are other needs, and you can get a running back at some other point in the draft or possibly in free agency, or maybe even make a trade for a guy like Rachaad White.
This is the most loaded running back draft class we've seen maybe ever. It'll be interesting to see if they go for the star power early on and the substance later on, like you said, build their roster throughout. Now, we heard from Dak Prescott this week. He said his Cowboys are close. Now, Micah Parsons has weighed in on Dallas's upcoming offseason in a quote, obviously, talent is here, but we've got to finish and got to go be aggressive the same way they did, they, Eagles. I don't want to sit back and just watch other people build and build and build, and I stay the same. So we definitely need some call to action. Now, I believe, Bart Scott, that's probably the way Dak Prescott should have gone with his comments when he was talking to the media, saying, guys, we've got some talent, but the Eagles are the class of the division, the Commanders are the class of the division. We're not close to them. We need to get better. He chose not to go that route. What do you make of what Micah said?
Like I said, objects may appear further in the rearview. I think they are under the assumption that they're not far away. But they don't have a lot of salary cap space. And the problem is the Dallas Cowboys are always reactive and not proactive. They should sign their players much earlier. They always spend top dollar for everybody. And Michael Parsons is going to be another example of that, which stops them to be able to fill their roster up with quality depth. And also they've drafted, like we talked in their meeting, they drafted well. But they really miss on signing their players and getting it for 80 cents on the dollar. They pay top dollar for everything that they buy.
Last year, it was almost like they were making a statement last year. We don't believe in this. There's a happy medium somewhere between going nuts in free agency and sitting on the sideline.
And I would say, too, that pocket of success Dallas did have that I alluded to a minute ago with Dak Prescott. What else were they doing? They were drafting smart. Tyron Smith. They were building up for Zach Martin.
Yeah.
They were building this thing
first-round picks on the offensive line.
Out.
Travis Frederick, like all those guys were first-round picks.
And I don't even know they need to be bold.
Right. That's the challenge of making sure you're drafting those guys' replacement. You said it earlier when we were talking about it. A guy like Jason Kelsey, a guy like Fletcher Cox, of drafting those guys' replacements as they get older, knowing when they walk away from the game, we have somebody to plug and play. They haven't done so, so now you're.
Yeah, because in football, it's about the redistribution of funds, right? Because it's always cycling out. You become a high cap guy, you got to go out, you have to have a replacement for it. And especially that's accelerated when you pay your quarterback top dollar. $60 million is always going to be something you have to work around.
By the way, when's the last time you balanced a checkbook?
I mean,
I remember seeing my mom do it as a kid.
It's been a minute. I don't even think I still have a checkbook. We'll pay our bills coming up in cash.
Is Aaron Rodgers and the Minnesota Vikings?
Okay, we'll end it right there, but you get the point here. The Cowboys, we've got to change what we're doing in order to get a different result. If we don't, we're just going to have the same damn results. All righty, good people. Hope you all have a great day. Don't forget, it is Valentine's Day. Fellas, get them flowers, get those cards, get that candy, and keep mama happy on her day. I'm Mark Holmes, and happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Peace.